What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the NBA Hardwood Show, presented, of course, by RunPureSports.com. Talking today's NBA 9-game slate. I'm your host, Draftcheat, joined today by Travis Mangone, Andrew Peterson. Travis, how you doing today, man?
Yeah, powering through. It's allergy season, DC. So not my favorite time of year, but we get like baseball coming around the corner, right? We got golf right now, sweating that. So that's a good time. Basketball, like UFC tonight. I mean, all the sports are going on. That is always kind of happening around the March Madness springtime. So I'm excited for that at least, and excited to be here to talk some hoops with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Busy day for me. Did the MMA show earlier today on this one now, going back and forth between the sports. Sweating the golf like you guys. Andrew, what's going on?
I mean, I'm always thrown off by DC and by Simon. So DC always comes on, calls me Andrew Peterson. First off, I'm only called Andrew Peterson by my wife and my mom when I'm in trouble. So always throwing me off. And then Simon always gets me because he's always calling me sir. And I'm like, no one has ever called me sir. So no, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, today, I love Saturdays now. MMA is a ton of fun. I am very excited for the slate tonight. Every time this Mangone guy fights, I feel like I'm going to see someone die like live on TV.
Yeah.
It's always very frightening. And so I'm you know, in a weird way, excited for this fight tonight. So
yeah, he's one bad man for sure. We'll see some violence. We always do in the UFC, but it's a little bit different when Ngannou's in the ring. Obviously, a lot to talk about on this NBA slate. We had the trade deadline on Thursday, so we did get to see I don't know, half of these teams kind of play with new teams and guys missing and new additions yesterday, but not all of them. And there's obviously going to be some big changes, so a lot to talk about. We'll go over any teams that we need to that have adjusted rotations and try to figure it out during this hour. With that, let's jump into the first game of the night. We'll go by the DraftKings order of games, starting with the first one they have listed, which is the Detroit Pistons and the Washington Wizards. Obviously waiting on news for this one. We do know Detroit, of course, traded away DeLon Wright, who was kind of their primary point guard recently. Dennis Smith Jr. questionable to play here. Just Detroit's tough. They have guys that produce on a point per minute basis, but you never know if the minutes are going to be there. And then for the Wizards, the big piece of news we're waiting on is Bradley Beal, who's questionable to play here. Obviously, if he were to miss out, Russell Westbrook would become, one of the top plays on the night, at least in my opinion. We'll throw it back to you first, AP. What are you seeing here between the Wizards and the Pistons?
Yeah, I mean, the Pistons rotation is a disaster right now. They played 13 guys yesterday, and Jeremy Grant is the only guy that saw relevant minutes at over 35. I think they only had 3 players that saw over 30 minutes, and a 13-man rotation is not what we want to target when it comes to DFS. I'm honestly faded. Like Mason Plumlee, you can make an argument against them, but the thing that I worry about bigs against this Wizards team is when Russ is in there, he's always trying to take the ball to the rim, and that's going to bring foul trouble into play with some of these bigs. So I'm fading the Pistons. I feel very good about that. And then I believe we're still waiting on the Beal news. I think Westbrook's in play either way, becomes a better play if Beal is out. Outside of those guys, I don't have a ton of interest in this game. Rui's getting a ton of minutes, but we can play Time Lord for a little bit more, and he's got more upside. So I don't feel the need to force anyone in from this game.
I mean, Plumlee, I thought he was going to win everybody $1 million yesterday when he had 12 fantasy points through 5 minutes in Discord. He was unstoppable, but obviously didn't end up getting a ton of minutes. Travis, thoughts on this game? Anything further to add?
Oh, yeah, you said my favorite thing. I thought the same exact thing. Discord chat was like, Plumlee, like 5% owned, 2% owned, just like oh, man, I mean, it was brutal. Like with Robert Williams just like looming to like absolutely like own it. So that's why you don't do the victory lap on the Discord, right? Maybe get a little excited, right? But don't get too excited. Yeah, Mason Plumlee does make sense in this spot. Like, I know he obviously, the minutes is the key, right? Like what's going to happen with him minutes wise. Even a Jeremy Grant, right? Like it does make sense for him to maybe get like a little bit of a boost in production now with like the way this team is designed, right? He had that like start to the year where he was absolutely hot. And he's kind of cooled off for sure over probably the last like month and a half or so. You could see a little bit of an uptick from him, I think, with the redesign of this roster. I think when Killian Hayes is officially back, then you could see it shoot down. But I think over this like period where Hayes isn't in there, I think this could be a good spot for Grant. You can take a shot on him right now. He's more of a last guy in. He's not a priority for anything. Westbrook, though, right? Like, obviously, if Beal is out, Westbrook probably just smashes in the spot. And one reason I've been a big fan of kind of going to Westbrook here in this spot, they just don't have ball handlers anymore, right? And like, yes, Westbrook is healthy. Real Neto is not going to just like be a primary ball handler, but like Ish Smith is a guy that I don't think people are understanding is probably helping Westbrook and Beal more than you'd think. And I get it, right? It sounds crazy to think, but Ish Smith is a guy like a Carmelo Anthony, where we know Damian Lillard is the better player on that team, right? But Carmelo doesn't care. He still chucks the ball a ton and still has a ton of usage. And Ish Smith is that kind of guy that soaks up usage and shoots and doesn't care, right? So I think that has also helped as well with the situation. It's also helped his health of Westbrook. That has been one of the bigger storylines. But 11.0K with a slate where it's right after the trade deadline, where we might have a lot of value. I think Westbrook is going to be one of those spends that I'm definitely considering as a top one on this slate.
Yeah, I think if Beal's out, Westbrook probably going to end up in most of my lineup. Still a fine play even if Beal goes, but obviously it's a huge bump with no Beal. So we'll have to see. First game of the night, we'll know that information certainly, unless we get a Michael Carter-Williams situation. But most likely we'll know with Westbrook when the slate locks, and going to be a tremendous play, of course. If Beal sits, I'm with guys on Detroit. I'm probably not going to the Pistons right now. I just don't trust the minutes really for anybody on that squad. Let's go to New York and Milwaukee. Bunch of news that we're waiting on here. Derrick Rose, Nerlens Noel, Reggie Bullock, all questionable to play for the Knicks. PJ Tucker, Bobby Portis, questionable for Milwaukee. So not the biggest names there, but they certainly do affect this game. Milwaukee favored by 8.5 in this one, 223 total. I guess, anytime you're talking about the Bucks, you kind of start with Giannis, who has struggled 2 games in a row after sitting out. He sat out one game with like a slight knee injury, it seemed, has come back and then basically had his 2 worst fantasy games of the season in a row, back to back. AP, are you worried at all about Giannis? I mean, this isn't the best matchup for him either. Kind of a wait and see situation for me right now. I mean, I would assume they're not risking his health, but kind of odd that he had 2 bad games in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I would. So the Celtics always playing very well,
right?
Especially when Marcus Smart's in there. Like, somehow this dude can. Like, one of the coaches was talking, and they're like, the best way to play Giannis is to take away his passing, and if you can somehow play him one-on-one and guard everyone else, you take away his pass, but then you have to have someone rotate over to create a wall at the rim because he can't hit a jumper. At all. He's got to get to the rim. And somehow Boston is just able to do that when they play him, and they just shut him down. They defend him very well. So yeah, they're on a back-to-back. And the thing about this slate, there's a lot of teams on back-to-backs tonight, which is just going to throw another wrench into the equation. Giannis is priced way up. It's a slow-paced matchup. The Knicks have bigs too. Mitch Rob's back. Noel down there. Randall, they have a ton around the rim to somewhat try to limit Giannis. I think he's fine, but I don't find myself. I just think there's more risk there. I'm definitely off this game. I think it's an easy fade. You can make a case for Emmanuel Quickly, because I could see the Bucks just putting the hammer down and getting a big lead, which could lead to more minutes from Quickly off the bench. But if Rose, Noel, Bullock, if they all play, this game's an easy fade for me.
I'm with you. If Rose and Bullock are out, I think Quickly gets a little bit of a boost there. And we've seen him kind of explode at times, so maybe not a bad GPP play, but just a slower paced game. Obviously with Giannis, you want him in games that are getting up and down the court because he can kind of fill up the stat sheet, more rebound opportunities, all that stuff. This game doesn't really seem to fit his style. Obviously can perform in any matchup, but probably not paying the price for Giannis here, and definitely not if Beal's out and we can play Westbrook. Travis, thoughts here on Milwaukee and the New York Knicks?
Yeah, not the greatest game in the world, but it could be a great game. Obviously, if the injury news hits, right? That's one thing that we have to talk about this. So it's Saturday, right? It's 8 o'clock lock. There's a lot of news that's going to hit. So get in that Discord chat. The content's going to update too, right? Like you can't just make your team right now at 5:30 and walk away, go watch the fights, go have dinner with the girlfriend. I mean, you can DC, right? But like you're probably minus EV and drawing dead.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah, it's a free country.
I already told the wife that I'm going to be in my office all night, so she already knows. So
it's one of those nights for sure.
If you do that, like Mangone is so right on this part. Like if you do that, you're dead tonight. Like
like honestly, like if you're watching the show right now, you're sitting down and you're like, I got something to do at 7. Like just withdraw your entries. Like literally email DK. I'm not trying to do it to like just be a dick, right? I'm trying to do it to help you out because this is going to be a tough night with all the news, right? Unless you have a plan where you're like, okay, I'm going to backload it till 9. I got, I have a situation where I don't like these early games enough. Like it's just, that's how it's going to be tonight. Luka's questionable. Kawhi's questionable. It's right after the trade deadline. So you're going to get some stuff that's going to pop up. You just kind of have to, adjust for that today. But obviously the Knicks, it could change. Maybe we get something during the show. I do want to talk about Giannis a little bit because I put Giannis on the cash chart today, and I had him yesterday. I played him. I know some people were a little frustrated. It was a great spot, right? You expected maybe Robert Williams to get some foul trouble. There could be no rim protection. There was a huge opportunity there for Giannis, and the Bucks got blown out. And I don't think it was something that was expected. Now, not as great of a game as yesterday, right? I preferred him way more yesterday. The reason I put him on the cash chart was because we might have a slate with a lot of value, right? And with a lot of value, sometimes you just need raw points. And I think the raw points for Giannis could work out today. Now that could adjust and I could easily take him off. He's a guy that I think could get off of there at some point. But I do think he's someone that you have to be considering. It could be a double spend up night, right? If Beal ends up being out and then we have all of this value on the slate, it could be like a Westbrook and Giannis night where you kind of plug both those guys in and you just fill out the values, similar to yesterday where it was a Harden night and then it was either you go a Giannis or a Jokic and you just kind of filled out the values.
It makes sense. There are obviously there's 3 early games. It seems to me like a slate where you need to be pretty confident in your early plays to kind of lock them in because there could be such good plays that emerge later that you don't want to lock in my opinion, questionable value early. You need to be pretty damn confident those players are going to come through for you. You can rearrange your lineup, as we get more news as the night goes on. That's at least my approach to the slate. I think it should be a good one overall. Of course, we'll have everything you need over at Run Pure Sports. You can use promo code HEATER25 to get 25% off your first payment. That code is good through April 1st when baseball season starts. So great time to join Run Pure. We'll have all our core plays up. The Discord always updating, staying on top of the news. UFC plays from Title and the bets folks. So just everything you need over at runpuresports.com. HEATER25 is the promo code. Let's go to Houston and the Minnesota Timberwolves. This game, a run-it-back situation they played last night. Minnesota won that one 107-101 and kind of a surprisingly low-scoring affair. I guess when Anthony Edwards can't hit a shot to save his life, maybe you'll get that. Minnesota favored by 4 here, 228 total, so obviously significantly higher than the total ended up yesterday. Kevin Porter Jr. set to return. Looks like John Wall is going to be a go in this one. And then from the Minnesota side, Okogie and D'Angelo Russell remain out. I didn't play him, but, a lot of the crew was pretty high on Anthony Edwards last night. I think for good reason. You just couldn't hit anything. That happens to him from time to time. It's kind of a risk you take. AP, you willing to go back to the well on Edwards tonight?
Yeah, no, not at all. Oh, man, I made him my play. And, one of the problems with I really last second, I wish I could adjust it off of him because when we were doing the show, I hadn't really built a lineup yet. And so you make a stance like that. I always want to commit to it. I don't want to double back.
I know that
I kept looking at Harden, and then I kept looking at Kim Birch, O'Keefe, those guys that just freed up everything. And then I was high on and Porzingis. And I wish I would have moved off of him, but I didn't. And the opportunity was there, but he just didn't make shots. Man, that game was this Rockets team is depressing to watch right now. They blew a 16-point lead with 6-7 minutes left in the game and then lost by 5 or 6 points.
Yep.
I mean, that's just I'm not playing Wall. I'm not playing Wood could be fine. I think the guys so what you do is, I'd probably move off Ben McLemore a little bit now too if Kevin Porter Jr.'s in, because he's probably going to get the start. I'm going to be under on this game. I think Towns is fine. If this game beats me, it beats me. What I saw yesterday was not pretty at all. The game went under the total. Houston just looks like an absolute disaster. I know these guys can beat me.
AP, real quick, the entire slate just changed. Giannis is out. Portis is out. Middleton's out, and Drew Holiday is doubtful. So Giannis and Drew are doubtful. Middleton out. Tucker out. Portis out. The entire slate just changed drastically.
I saw that, and Luka or Porzingis is out, right? So they're probably going to play Luka tonight.
And DiVincenzo's doubtful. They're just going to have scrubs out there.
Yeah. So just to sum up Houston and Minnesota, I think with all this news that we're getting right now, especially the Milwaukee guys.
We just start over?
Basically.
Start the stream over?
Well, it's just, Mango, do you have anything to say on Houston and Minnesota? Any plays that stick out? For me, there's really not much there.
Obviously with the way the slate is changed, if you fall on the spend ups of Wood or a Wall or a Town, sure. I think it's fine. But the problem is now this slate is going to turn to stars and scrubs instantly, right? So you can make an argument for a Towns as a contrarian spend up option that has a ceiling, right? And maybe you run back a Wall and a Towns with a Westbrook, and those three together with some of these Bucks, that could be something that could be interesting if he ends up being
Randall's not questionable.
It's a disaster. This is gonna be
Let's
crazy.
We'll get to the rest of the games, but I think right now let's just go straight back to Milwaukee, because it looks like they're basically just taking the night off.
But I don't mind this. I don't get I think it's great to do this. The teams that are pushing for a title, who cares? It's no one even has their eyes on it. They're all eyes on March Madness tonight anyway. So.
It makes sense. If you're going to sit out a couple of these guys, maybe just give the whole starting lineup the night off, rest them all.
The one thing that's crazy is Brook Lopez isn't ruled out. Or
not yet.
Why would they let him play?
Do they need him for active bodies? I know they're kind of shorter on bodies.
I would not play Brook Lopez tonight, even if he's in. He's going to be one of those Jeff Green that starts and then sits the second half.
Yeah, Joe Harris, right? Didn't Joe Harris play 4 minutes the other day, right?
Yeah. So this is one of those spots where you're looking at, you're looking at, Brent Forbes, you're looking at Pat Con.
You're looking at one of the Antetokounmpos, right? Not Giannis, the other one.
So just to recap: Portis, DiVincenzo, Drew Holiday, Giannis, and Middleton all looked. I assume they're all going to sit. They listed them all doubtful. They're not going to play tonight
too.
So that's basically everybody. So like you mentioned, you would assume Pat Connaughton, I would assume, could play huge minutes here and take on a higher usage. Bryn Forbes, it's almost to a point where you got to everybody that they have, active in this game, other than Brook Lopez, I think is in play.
I still worry about them going full G League, and we see a Giannis, Sam Merrill, Jordan Nwora, they got this Daeki. I don't know how to pronounce his name at all. They have some guys that they can play that we've never heard of or seen before. So it's going to be interesting.
I would say this, I know, Big T loves to make fun of me for the coach quotes. They definitely matter tonight, right? Try your best to look for those. I know Gary posts them a lot in the Discord chat. More reason to get in the Run Pure Sports Premium Discord chat. I'll be looking for them too. And if I find anything good, I can obviously post it in there.
Here's who closed the game last night for Milwaukee in that blowout loss to Boston. It was Axel Toupane.
Yeah.
I had not heard of him until now. Mamadi Diakite.
That's who I was trying to pronounce.
Jordan Nwora, Sam Merrill, and Giannis's brother. That was the closing five in last night's game. Those guys are going to have to play tonight. Right now, I have
this
no.
Sam Merrill guy's not bad.
I have no
Yeah,
idea
Sam
who
Merrill's
these
like
guys are, if they're any good at basketball right now, right as of this moment. Luckily, what do we have? Hour and a half, something like that, to figure it out.
I think Sam Merrill, he's a guy that can shoot. He's actually played some minutes, and he's gonna see the court tonight.
So
3K.
he's a rookie too, right? So like obviously this is why, like, I mean, some people are like, oh, these guys are bums and taking off. Like, you got to see what you have in some of these guys, right? Like, you have to kind of check them out a little bit, right? So it's a great spot for Sam Merrill to fire away and like kind of develop him a little bit. So I think Sam Merrill is going to be a guy I'm definitely a fan of tonight.
Yeah. He did play in the first half of last night's game, so that kind of lets you show where he stands kind of in the pecking order, maybe above some of those other guys.
You know who might be really interesting now is Quickly on the other side, because he's always played in these blowout games too, and so like he hasn't at least been a risk for blowout minutes, and he's gonna get a game against a bunch of G League guys. So I definitely have more interest in a guy like Emmanuel Quickly.
Yeah, it looks like Sam Merrill, obviously minimum price. He can shoot a little bit, shooting over 50% from a three on the year, so he's a guy that might be able to fill it up. What about like Connaughton? I assume he'll be pretty popular. How do you feel about him? Bryn Forbes, I think, will be the primary playmaker in the starting lineup. Any other takes, Travis, as we try to kind of figure this out? Obviously, there's going to be the topic of discussion in the Discord. You're going to get, I think, probably 2 or 3 Milwaukee guys in most of our cores, I would imagine, just given how cheap they are. Yeah, I mean, it's just totally turned into a stars and scrubs slate, right, Travis?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm trying to run like on-off stuff real quick. Like, it's probably honestly, it's probably.
Well, if you take all these guys out, there won't be any minutes to look at.
I know that. Well, I like to see if they're there, right? That's the fun thing I like to do. So I did when you take DJ Wilson off, the sample's not as bad. When you do take DJ Wilson off, it is a disaster. Actually, I didn't even get Middleton off yet, so it could even get worse. Gosh, I mean, it's crazy how many guys.
You're gonna get like 2 minutes if you take all these guys off.
I'm always curious to see if like we somehow have it. Yeah, actually, no. This is So with DJ Wilson on, we got like 50 minutes. It's not the worst thing in the world, but another thing too. If you don't know anything about these guys, right? Like, go and look at what Jordan Nwara's like college points.
I always do that for sure. Yeah.
That's a good thing to do. I can't do it right now, but like if you are someone that wants to scramble and figure it out now, go ahead. Obviously, this is stuff that we'll be, incorporating into the cash chart, into the playbook, into the core plays, all that stuff, trying to figure it out when we're kind of picking our plays. So that's stuff you can do as well.
What in particular are you looking at from college stats for these guys? Is it just overall production? Is it scores?
I just want someone who's big, though, who's going to get rebounds, because we're going to see a ton of clanks in this game. You know what I mean? Kind of like Keem Birch last night, Okiki, guys that stuff the stat sheet. Like, that's what I think you go after.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I would say, I agree with that. And I agree with the fantasy points per minute, because like steals and blocks, if this is going to be a sloppier game, right, especially on like a FanDuel, obviously you don't need all that value, right? But those steals and blocks can add up on a site like that. So, and trying to figure out who's going to be like the primary guy in a way. And like I said, I like a Sam Merrill to maybe be it, or like a Forbes. Pat Connaughton I worry about definitely a little bit, because like I don't think they run him out there for sure for 40. If they only had 8 bodies, but I don't know. I have to get the body count on it and kind of figure out what's going to go on there, because there is a chance that Connaughton is the guy that's the first one off the court. And obviously he's one of the most expensive guys of the Bucks remaining. So that's something you have to look at as well.
Yeah, I'm counting up, and I'm seeing 8, which is no surprise, right? We've seen a bunch of teams. You have to have 8 to start the game. Is that the rule? I think.
Yes.
8 active bodies, but like active could be like Terrence Ross the other day was planning on just.
That's what we're saying is we don't anticipate Brook Lopez. I think he could be just a fake active body, right? They could actually be down to 7 perhaps. And then we're kind of worried about Connaughton, because he's also a member of the regular rotation. So, I mean, if they're actually down to 7, he's going to have to play. I assume they won't actually just play like 5 guys 48 minutes, but yeah, you're going to have to play some Bucks. And, even if you've never heard of these guys, try to figure it out, because if you're 3K and you're going to play 40 minutes, you're probably going to get there. That's just the way it goes in the NBA. These guys are in the NBA, they might not be the best players, but
this is when all right. So the Mamadi guy, I remember him now. He's that stud from Virginia, really good defender.
Who's that?
6'9", Mamadi, I'm not going to say his last name. He always had he had the Slim Shady look going where he bleaches hair.
Okay.
Virginia guy, good defender. He's someone I'm definitely interested in. I think he's going to be down there in the paint, could get steals, blocks, and rebounds.
What's interesting about him is if we're wrong about Brook Lopez and Brook Lopez does end up playing in the 30s, he would be the one that maybe couldn't get on the court. Is he like a traditional big man, right? So that could be, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if he is going to get 35 minutes at center, he'll absolutely smash there. So we'll figure out, I guess, all those Bucks stuff in the Discord. We just don't have the answers for this right now because it's a completely a situation that hasn't popped up for the Bucks where they arrested all these guys, and it just came on obviously while we're on air, so we don't have all the info on these guys. But certainly going to be Milwaukee is going to be the key to this slate. I don't think there's any question about that at this point. Anything else to say here, Travis, or we'll go on to keep moving along the games?
Yeah, I want to address Chris Myers in the chat. So he said, hop on the show, JSU, give the people what they want. And JSU's response was, I was not invited on the show. JSU, you make the schedule. So, like, I'm just going to call you out. Like, if you want to hop on, like, Ryan, just send him the link. That way he has no excuse. Like, if he wants to hop on.
He can take my spot because I did the playbook, and now I have a shit ton of stuff to fix because of all this damn news.
Well, the problem with
JSU, if you want my spot, you can have it.
I don't watch much college basketball, so I don't know these guys at all. It's tough. We need like a big college basketball buff to go tell us about all these Milwaukee scrubs. I guess we'll move on for now. We got 6 more games to talk about still. So Chicago and San Antonio. Obviously, Chicago made the big trade for Vucevic. Wendell Carter moving over to the Magic. That's going to change things for Chicago, who are kind of interesting now. Vucevic, a big get for them, in my opinion. He's going to be in there tonight. We'll see. I would assume, he'll be in there kind of in a full-time role. And then Zach LaVine is questionable for Chicago. For the Spurs, LaMarcus Aldridge off the team, obviously. But other than that, looks like they're relatively healthy. Lonnie Walker out. So the big piece of news is Zach LaVine. Spurs favored by 2 here, 219 total. AP, what are you seeing from Spurs and Bulls?
Yeah. I mean, we're waiting on LaVine news now for sure. This game was a stay away from me because we got Vucevic in there. I kind of wanted to take the wait and see approach, but obviously if LaVine gets ruled out, I would have more interest in Kobe White. I would actually have more interest too in Satoransky. I think Vucevic is going to help him too. He's a good distributor. Now you get a big like Vucevic down there. You really have to like that connection between Tomas Satoransky and Vucevic. If LaVine's in, I'm happy staying away from this game. On the Spurs side, they're always frustrating. I'm fine with fading all of them. If I played anyone, it'd be DeMar DeRozan. Under 8K, with a few bodies out, always have a little bit of interest in him.
That makes sense. Any interest in Vooch himself? I think I would probably wait one game to kind of get him integrated in the offense.
No, I would rather wait. He's still priced up, so I don't think he's going to kill me.
Travis, your thoughts here on Spurs and Bulls?
Yeah, great slate to just say no to the Spurs, right? That's where I'm at. I get it's the Bulls, right? It makes some sense at times, but I'm out on the Spurs. I don't think I need to approach them. I get it. Like you make the case, DeJounte Murray 7-2. I can do all that tout stuff, right? I'm not going to do it, right? No Spurs for me. Bulls side, I just think you take the wait and see approach. And also all these guys are priced up for situations without a giant, massive center that's commands a really nice usage and is a really efficient player. This is just a full fade for me. 219 total. Don't need to approach it. Bulls and Spurs. I'll just X them out on the slate.
I'm with you. If LaVine sits, maybe you can look at some of those Bulls, but other than that, pretty much a stay away game, especially with all that news in Milwaukee. Let's go to the next game, Memphis and Utah. Big news here. Mike Conley going to sit. We've seen a lot of very strong games from Donovan Mitchell and Joe Ingles when Conley's on the bench. We kind of see Ingles step into that, secondary playmaking role. And then obviously Donovan Mitchell has the ball in his hands more often. I pretty much always play those guys whenever Conley's out. And, I'll probably do that again tonight. Utah favored by 9 here at home, 226 total. AP, your thoughts on Mitchell, Ingles, and anyone else in this game?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is whenever Mike Conley sat, our guy Joe Ingles has been a very consistent producer. I'll go right back to him. I'm fine with Jordan Clarkson and Donovan Mitchell. I think it's as easy as that. I will say the one thing is every time we see these teams where it's a direct back-to-back and they just face each other, we usually see a slower game environment on the second night. So that would be my only concern. However, I'm still fine with Ingles. And over at Super Draft, which if you're not over there, use the code RUNPIER. We have a partnership that we're building with them. I love Joe Ingles. I think you can get 1.7x his fantasy points over there. And I think like over on Super Draft, I feel like these injuries, everyone just jams in the studs and they forget about these guys who benefit from players sitting out. And these guys get big bonuses. I mean, we saw it with Kim Birch yesterday. If you played him, you got 1.9x his fantasy points. And so he scored like 100. And if you add him, it was just the easiest cash ever. I mean, it was really hard not to cash because he was low owned too. No one played him. It was crazy.
Yeah, Super Draft's fun because you can literally play whoever you want. They use the multiplier instead of the salary cap. And like you said, if you can find those guys that get like a 1.8 or 1.9 multiplier that have, score 40 or 50 fantasy points, those are the key to finding the nuts over at Super Draft. So fun product. Sometimes you get overlay too in the NBA. So check that out if you haven't. Travis, seems like AP and I have the same approach to this one. Seems pretty straightforward with Mitchell, Ingles, and perhaps Clarkson. Any other thoughts on Memphis and Utah? I'm not really on the Memphis side of this one myself.
Yeah, so Memphis, Utah, I understand everything with Ingles and it makes sense. It feels like it might not be the right slate, but I will say at 5.8K, if I fall on Joe Ingles, right, last guy in, I'm not mad about it, right? Because I know he has that ceiling. He's probably not a priority guy to jam into my lineups, though, based on this slate. So that's kind of where I'm at there with, I'd say that. And I guess with it being a stars and scrubs slate, you can make an argument for a Donovan Mitchell maybe being a guy that I could fall on more. I don't know exactly how it's going to, shake up with the stars and scrubs approach, but I do think Mitchell could be a guy I fall on and I'm okay with, right? Because I feel like he's safe and secure. It could be like a last cash guy in maybe. No Memphis for me. I just think wrong slate, right? I think we just take a pass. We're just mainly capturing some raw points on some of these Jazz and maybe going to an Ingles if Conley's out because of the production and ceiling that he has at the price.
You make a good point with Ingles where, I mean, I've almost always played him whenever Conley sat, and it's almost always worked. But there's only so many roster spots, and with all the value in Milwaukee, it's possible he could get squeezed out, right? It's really hard to say without trying to build some rosters with these Milwaukee guys because it is going to be superstars and scrubs. And, Ingles, for as effective as he's been, without Conley in the lineup, he's not a superstar. He's just not. So if there's multiple stars that look like they're in really good spots like Westbrook, then maybe Ingles gets squeezed out. But I do like him quite a bit. And I think I like Mitchell a little bit more than you do, Travis.
The reason I like him too, it's like, so it is going to be a stars and scrubs slate, right? But we lost a lot of stars, right? So we lost Giannis, we lost Luka, we could lose Randall, we could lose Embiid. So we might only have one guy that's even rosterable, right? Like we've lost all these guys basically, and we might only have one guy that's rosterable above 10K. So that's going to make that second tier of guys, those 9 and 8K guys, getting mixed throughout your lineup, where I think that could make Ingles become more in play. When you look at some typical 2v2s that you'd maybe see like a 5.8K guy with like a 9K guy or a 3.8K guy with an 11K guy. You're literally not going to have that now. So that could push Ingles onto some more teams that I'm thinking when I think through like construction and how lineups go. But it's just something worth mentioning because, again, we only have one guy above 10K that I think is going to be playable unless Randall's in.
For sure, yeah. Ingles does have that shooting guard, small forward eligibility on DraftKings, so you can play him in a bunch of different spots, which might make him more likely to get into some top lineups of ours. Let's go to Dallas and New Orleans. We saw, I think, probably the best pro fantasy game of Zion's career last night. He was just tremendous against the Nuggets. Still waiting on significant news here. So Lonzo Ball, doubtful to play. I think that contributed to Zion's big game. Brandon Ingram, another guy that could benefit from that. And then Luka, who did miss last night, is questionable to play in this one. I played Brunson last night. I think he was pretty bad. So we'll see if Luka returns. If he does, I think he's a pretty strong play, especially with Kristaps Porzingis out, JJ Redick out, as you mentioned, Willie Cauley-Stein. So Dallas potentially very shorthanded if Luka sits. If Luka's in there, hard for me to pass him up against the fast-paced Pelicans team that struggles on defense, especially missing Lonzo Ball, who's a pretty good defender and would have been, I think, they're by far their best option probably to slow down Luka. So, we're talking stars and scrubs build. Certainly for me, I think I will probably end up on Luka if he does indeed go in this game. Is that the way you're seeing it, AP? Yeah.
So the thing I don't understand is they've come out and they say Kristaps Porzingis is doubtful tonight. Like, what does that mean? Like, every time we see those situations, it's like that person is 99.9% out. Like,
I pretty much just assume they're out.
Yeah. I'm working on the assumption. I just changed it in the playbook. I'm working under the assumption that he's going to sit tonight. I'm also working under the assumption that maybe it was Luka was going to rest on the front end and Porzingis was going to rest on the back end.
I think Luka will play tonight because it's just a low back thing, right? I mean,
but if you go into that mindset that Luka plays, you can start formatting your builds around it. There's other pivots that you can make too. The Boston, we haven't got there yet. There's they should have a very tight rotation. There's pivots you can make, but if you start building your lineups with the assumption that Luka's going to play, I think it'll give you a better understanding on how to tackle this slate. So yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be a stars and scrubs night for me, even in tournaments.
Yeah.
So I'm going to multi-entry tonight, and my plan is going to be, probably to play a couple of these random Milwaukee guys and try to mix and match to get the right, and then lock.
You can't even remember their names at this point.
No, I have no idea who they are at all. I'm going to play them though. So yeah, with Luka in, he's the only guy I really care about. I don't everyone always gets sucked in. We talked about it last night. People get sucked in, and Mangone might like this guy, like Maxi Klebe, whatever they call him. I just never play him. I think he sucks. He's plays a ton of minutes and he's never good. So I'll be off him, but I'm on Luka.
We got a special visitor, JSU, in the house. What's going on, man?
What is up, guys?
Look at that.
I just wanted to come on and see my boys and hang out, and then I'm getting called out in chat. Mangone's calling me out live on air, telling me to.
Hey, JSC, you can't.
Because I make the show schedule.
You can't say you weren't invited, right? You could say I just invited. You can say I wasn't scheduled, right? You're always invited to hang out with us, JSC. Always.
I'm just saying I wasn't invited though. AP was on. I didn't even know AP was on. AP was on here. I didn't even know about it. I wanted to come on and see AP. In DC, I never get to see DC. DC's sometimes I'll randomly do a night podcast with them, but I don't get to hang out with them all the time. So
it's good to see, man. Do you know more about these Bucks guys than we do?
God, so that when you guys were kind of getting the news and kind of taking it all in, I could tell everyone was scrambling, okay, who are these guys? Who are we looking at? I really feel like when we look at the Bucks, because of the lack of ball handling with all the guys out, those are the first guys you want in, right? So the Bryn Forbes and the Pat Connaughtons are going to be the first guys most people click. This Sam Merrill, though, so he's a shooter, and I expect him to get a little bit of run, and he can handle the ball a little bit too. So he's another guy. I'm thinking Giannis's brother is going to get a ton of run. And first of all, he's Giannis's brother. They give him little spurts of run when Giannis and all these guys need a break, where he'll get 4 minutes and then he'll take them out. But they give him little bits of run during.
Seems like he's getting better to me.
Yeah, I think this game they're gonna let him go. I think he's the one that out of all these bigs guys. First of all, I wouldn't touch Brook Lopez either. Yeah. We've seen teams look what happened to Joe Harris the night James Harden sat. The dude barely played. We've seen teams where this situation comes up and they'll have one or two random veterans. Jeff Green, same thing happened to Jeff Green. He played 5 minutes and then they hooked him, right? And Elise Johnson played most of that game. So I wouldn't be shocked if Brook Lopez played just whatever they needed to get by 10, 15 minutes and they hook him and play these younger guys. So definitely, I think the young guys are who you want. Connaughton and Bryn are the first two, but I think Giannis's brother is right up there. I think he's the one they want to see play. With PJ Tucker, Portis, Giannis, all those guys out, that's Giannis' position right there. Those are all the guys that play in front of him, and now they're gone. He is going to be the first guy in my lineups probably today.
I like it. You feel good about Connaughton? We, all of us kind of very shying away from Brook Lopez. Obviously, he's the only starter that hasn't been ruled out. Connaughton, though, is kind of the other guy that's a regular member of their rotation. But he's a pretty good player, right? He just isn't asked to do a lot playing behind Giannis and Drew and Middleton and Brook in the pecking order. You feel good about him, or do you think he could be kind of get the rug pulled out from under us too?
See, I think Pat Connaughton, because he's not like the older vet like Brook Lopez is. I think they're going to let him go too. I think they want to see him, play without these guys. Look at the way he's been shooting too from, 3-point range and just from the field in general. He's had some really good games his last 10 games, especially from the 3-point range. We saw in that game against Indiana when they had Giannis out, and he hit like 5 for 5 from 3. His first 5 shots were just wet. He went 6 for 7 for the game, 7 for 9 from the field. And that was with just Giannis out, and he was taking a few more shots. Now you got all these guys out. I think he's going to easily take double-digit shots. And at 4,900, you're going to get 10 shots for sure, probably at least 5 threes. Like, he's going to pull from deep. So I think Pat Connaughton is the easy play, right? I think he's just the guy that, like, he's going to play, solid minutes, and he's going to probably produce in those minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of looking at like his college stats to see if he can be a playmaker at all. I think a little bit, right? He's not.
I think they could give him the ball and let him run a pick and roll.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah.
I think they could do it. Bryn Forbes, they like to come off screens for shots, so he'll be interesting because I wonder if he does a little more with the ball in his hands. But he's more an off the ball. He'll run pick and roll with Giannis sometimes, where Giannis will have the ball. He'll pick and pop, or instead of setting the screen, he'll fade to the corner. Yeah. And Giannis will have the decision to pass or drive. But that's kind of his thing on the team. But I'm sure he'll get the ball a little bit more. So
it's interesting to me because I think a lot of times in these situations where all the backups are in, kind of the offense, the structure of the offense can sometimes break down, and it's like whoever can run the pick and roll can be like, all right, we just gotta go to this again and again, right? So
yeah, it's the two-man game, like the pick and roll game. Those are the guys
I'm trying to figure out who that's going to be, though, and I'm not quite sure.
But then you want the active guys. The guys are just going to hustle, and that's Giannis's brother. That's what he's going to do. He's going to bring energy. He's going to rebound. He's going to maybe he'll block a shot or two. Run the floor, get easy buckets. That's his game.
Yeah, makes sense. Appreciate you jumping on, giving the insight there.
No problem.
Back to Dallas and New Orleans, Travis, thoughts on Zion here? I mean, coming off that huge game, I think he's got the opportunity to do it again against a Dallas team who I'm not particularly afraid of them, in the front court. I think Zion could possibly do it again, especially with Lonzo out. So, again, as we kind of go back to that potential stars and scrubs build, thoughts on Zion, rather, as a spend-up, Travis?
Yeah, so Zion is definitely a good spend up because I talked about it. There's not like a lot of spend ups above 10K anymore, right? So I think Zion is definitely one of those that you want to look at. Like Zion, he's definitely a good option. I don't expect Luka to play. I don't expect Porzingis to play. Rick Carlisle he basically said after the All-Star break, we have some scheduled rest days for these guys, but we're not telling you when they are, and it's just going to happen, right? So I'm expecting Dallas to just rest these guys. They did it that one time. They rested both of them, and that kind of rose the question. Now that I expect them to do that here. I think both those guys do not play. I know AP asked me about Maxi Kleber. Man, I begrudgingly play him on FanDuel all the time because he's like the flat min, and like there's nothing else you can do, and FanDuel sucks because power forward's the worst position ever. But not on DraftKings. I'm going to do my best to find something else on FanDuel, and I'm sure we'll have an option because of those Bucks cheap power forwards. So I'll probably look to them instead. I don't know. I guess Nickeil Alexander-Walker, we should talk about him. He's like 5.3K. I do think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is in play. The problem is like I mentioned before, kind of with Ingles, right? Well, you might want one of those Bucks value plays instead. I do think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is still a good option, and I'll consider him. I guess the question is going to be, and maybe this is a good question for JSU or AP. What do you do with like a Jalen Brunson if Luka and Porzingis are out? He's 4.2K, and you can make an argument. Yesterday, he was a guy that a lot of people were on, and he was supposed to be a good play, and now he's not going to be as good of a play. He's just going to be, I shouldn't say as good of a play, right? Ownership's going to be down on him, right? And people are not going to think of him as a good play because recency bias, right? So I don't know, AP, would you play Jalen Brunson again in tournaments and be chasing that ceiling? Because I think it's still there.
Yeah, he's still a good play. He'd be a phenomenal play if both of them are out. I disagree a little bit, though. Like, Dallas is 7th. They're 23-20, and, the Western Conference is still up for grabs. Like, you got the Kings that are just a couple games back from them, and they're 3 games back of 8th place. Like, they can't afford to lose games right now. So, like,
I think Luka's going to be out there tonight.
I read the situation as they were, resting Luka last night. They're going to play him tonight, but we'll see. Well, that news will come, and we could definitely be wrong. Who knows? He looked bad the previous night, but I want to build with the intention that Luka's going to play because I think he could be lower anyway because of how bad he looked the previous night. So maybe we get him at lower ownership as well.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson disappointing last night, but he was the point guard. If you look at some of the tracking data, passes made and received, potential assists, like he had the ball in his hands a lot, just didn't shoot it well. Things didn't go his way. But, at 4,200 on DraftKings, if Luka and Porzingis are both out, he's going to get the opportunity to do it again. And that's not that much more than the Bucks scrubs, right? For a guy that's going to play point guard for 35 minutes and is established pretty good NBA player. So Jalen Brunson would be on my radar if Luka does sit out. 3 games to get to here, so we'll keep it moving for now. That takes us out of Dallas and New Orleans to Boston and OKC. Boston obviously made some big trades, trading away Daniel Tice. Tristan Thompson still on the team, but not going to play in this one. Kemba Walker also out. And then Evan Fournier, who they traded for, will not be available in this game. So Boston pretty short-handed. They obviously played very well last night, beating the Bucks handily. Robert Williams in just 27 minutes put up 42 fantasy points. I think we're going to see a lot of big games out of Robert Williams for the rest of the season, assuming whenever Tristan Thompson's out, or if they get rid of him or whatever. So yeah, I think he's certainly in play. From the OKC side, Darius Bazley out. Austin Rivers trade acquisition is out, but other than that, looks like mostly healthy. We'll go to you first, JSU. What are you seeing here between Boston and OKC?
Yeah, I mean, what I see here is Boston team where they're thin in the with the bigs, and Robert Williams' price for whatever reason just kind of sticking right around what it was yesterday. And so, I mean, he's a great play again here. Again, what's his FanDuel price that might have actually gone down? Yeah, 5,600. Like, what is FanDuel doing? So yesterday, I'm looking at the position and I'm like, Robert Williams, like, I can't not play him. Like, I have to play him on FanDuel. Now his price goes down. I mean, the dude was so good at halftime. Did he even have a bucket? Like, if he did, it was only
I think
one.
he had like 32 DraftKings points and no actual points.
Yeah, like it was crazy. He had no actual points at halftime. That's what I thought. And but he had like a really good fantasy game going, 22 or 30, whatever it was, fantasy points at half. I was like, this dude's just a beast. And hopefully it continues, but I don't understand the price tags. I'm just going to, probably keep playing him at these price tags. And then with Kemba out, I think you can look to obviously a Tatum or a Brown or even a Marcus Smart with Kemba out. But all those guys are solid. The price on Tatum at 8,400, I do like on DraftKings. Jaylen Brown at 8,200. Going back and forth on those two guys because after Tatum's big performance last night, I wonder if everyone jumps on him and it's not in tournaments a better idea to maybe go towards Brown because they're so close in price. I'm looking to see what ownership says on those guys because if one is going to be much higher owned than the other, I might go the other one. So that kind of is how I'm looking at this team right now because I definitely want some Celtics.
Yeah, Robert Williams obviously a tremendous play, and if you're like AP and I, kind of building with the assumption that Luka's in, and we do like him as a play. To me, Tatum and Brown, two guys that you could potentially swap to. Obviously, you're going to want to use most of the rest of that salary for an upgrade at a different position. But I think Tatum and Brown definitely both on my radar, especially with Kemba out and with the guys missing from Boston. AP, your thoughts here on Boston and then anything from the OKC side?
Yeah, this was one of my favorite games originally, obviously, before a lot of news was going to hit. Marcus Smart was high on my radar. He's a great play over on Super Draft. Again, he's getting like 1.65, 1.7x. And I think he's going to smash. He's going to be one of those guys that puts up like 70 points on Super Draft. So, and I don't think a lot of people are going to play him just because it's Marcus Smart, but he's got big upside here in this matchup. Love Time Lord. They should have a tie rotation. I feel like this is probably a safe squad to build around. Just thinking off the top of my head with these pump plays, you'll probably be able to fit two, like maybe like a Luka Westbrook if you went true stud and dud, and then maybe like a mid-range guy in Brown, Tatum, or Williams, one of those types. So if you're going that route, I do have a ton of interest on the Celtics. I don't think I'm going to be on the Thunder, especially like they just have so many bodies. I know Moses Brown is kind of popular. He'll get run. He has been, even with Horford, Roby in there. But I don't know. I'm going to be off it for sure. It's just a tougher matchup against the Celtics. So, yeah, that's kind of how I'm breaking this down.
I'm with you. It's a bunch of guys I think from the Celtics are in play, including, Smart, Brown, and Tatum. Obviously, Time Lord is going to be a very popular play tonight for good reason. Travis, I'll let you kind of wrap us up on this game. I mean, just wrap up this game, rather. Any Thunder guys at all for you?
Yeah, it shouldn't be too hard to wrap up, right? On the Thunder side, Moses Brown is like in play, but I think he's like falling out of favor now with like all that news. He was someone that you could consider, but I think he's someone I'm not going to be as excited about. I thought Lou Dort round 2 would happen for me. I don't know if it will though. It just doesn't seem like I need to go there today anymore. So I can go for some cheaper options, but I do think he has still an upside there. And then on the Celtics side, I like what JSU was saying about Tatum versus Brown. Also, it's the second night of a back-to-back, right? And Tatum is dealing with that COVID, right? So you could, you could make the argument for Jalen being leaned on a little bit more. And Robert Williams, another great play.
Absolutely. Let's go to Philadelphia and the LA Clippers. A couple big pieces of news waiting here. The biggest one, of course, Kawhi Leonard, questionable to play. If he's out, we would see the usage bump from Paul George, as we typically do. Patrick Beverley already ruled out, as is Serge Ibaka, and then Marcus Morris also questionable to play. So the Clippers potentially pretty short-handed here. They take on the Sixers, who are still missing Joel Embiid, at least for a couple more games. We've seen the center position kind of split for Philadelphia so far. Obviously, Simmons has been solid. Tobias Harris gets a little bit of a bump there without Embiid. Obviously a lot of this game kind of depends on Kawhi Leonard, kind of on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. I'd be more interested in, a guy like Tobias Harris if he's not going to be guarded by Kawhi Leonard. So, yeah, Clippers favored by 5. I guess we'll see on the news. JSU, are you going to kind of build banking on a Kawhi Leonard absence? Do you think it's super important on this slate to kind of take that into account when building your team?
With the Milwaukee news, it's definitely something where you're not going to need the value as much, right? I don't think. So if you were like, okay, I'm waiting for this news because I think Terrence Mann, if Kawhi's out, is just a total lock, and he's still 3.9K on DraftKings. Okay, it's like, all right, but then you've got all these bucks that some of them are cheaper, but all around that price, right, in the 4K and 3K range, it's like, man, these bucks just seem like better plays where I don't think you need to wait on it. The question is like Paul George, right? Because
he's the guy that I would maybe wait on. Yeah,
because is Paul George a better play if Kawhi sits? No doubt in my mind, for sure. He's a much better play. I will say, though, like Philly is tough. Defensively, they're tough. They're a real solid team all around. I think in general in this game, I might be just taking a stance where I'm just going to kind of stay away from this game. I hope that Kawhi Leonard just gets ruled in, and,
Yeah.
Everything's somewhat normal and, it's not a big deal. That's kind of how I'm going to approach it with this game being at 10, unless I have a lineup where I completely backload and fade all of the 8 and 8:30 games. But with Milwaukee value, I don't know how I can have a lineup where I don't have some Milwaukee guys. So maybe it's a lineup where maybe I only have like just 2 or 3 value Milwaukee guys and the rest I'm just waiting on. But that'd be the only way I'd do it, which I definitely think is viable. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. AP, Travis, any thoughts here on this one?
AP, you go first.
Yeah, this is the game I kind of want to fade. Obviously,
Yeah.
so like we've already said, it's cut and dry. If Leonard's in, we fade this game. If he's out, a lot more guys are far more viable. So at first, for a second, I thought we were on the other game, and we have another 3K punt that might very well be in play in Isaiah Hartenstein, but we're not through that game yet.
No, we are not. We'll get there in a second. Travis, final thoughts, Clippers game.
Yeah, I guess you could make the argument for Paul George, but do you want to really backload for it with all the other news? Like, that's going to be part of the equation and trying to figure everything out. So he's in play. I do think Reggie Jackson has a ceiling that he showed the other day, right? Definitely someone you can consider. Same with the Terrence Mann if a Kawhi is ruled out. But not something I'm going to be preparing for exactly. If you want to prep for it, you can. But I would also have a backup plan just in case.
For sure. Let's get to the last game of the night before we do. Just another reminder, we've got everything you need over at runpuresports.com. We'll have our core plays, Discord, articles, all that good stuff. Every sport and bets under one roof. Promo code HEATER25 for 25% off your first payment. Last game of the night, Cleveland and Sacramento. Sacramento favored by 9 in this one, a 224 total. We do know Jarrett Allen already ruled out for Cleveland. He'll join Taurean Prince, Kevin Love, obviously, on the bench. Looks like Sacramento mostly healthy here. And, yeah, Colin Sexton also going to play for Cleveland. Darius Garland's been pretty good whenever Sexton has sat. We'll start with you, AP, on this one. You mentioned Hartenstein, so why don't you elaborate a little bit what you're looking at there?
Yeah, so no Jarrett Allen. I believe he's out with a concussion from last night. At least that's what I saw earlier today. Hopefully that's the right news. It's going to give a bump to Larry. Yeah, Larry Nance, obviously, but they just picked up Isaiah Hartenstein, 3K. I think he's got to get some run as long as he's available.
Am I missing something? I'm not seeing him in the player pool for DraftKings.
No, he is. He's a power forward. He's not a center. Okay. He's power forward only on DraftKings for whatever reason.
Which is funny, yeah.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
I mean, so Dean Wade. So I'm looking at Dean Wade. I'm looking at Isaiah Hartenstein. Dean Wade has been, he's been pretty good, pretty productive. They could even go. Just looking at the Kings, they could even. All right, do you guys think that they would move Nance to the 5 and then start like Chetty Osman or something?
When I was initially looking at this game, I was thinking Dean Wade could be a pretty strong play because he's played, last 3 games, even with Allen in there, right? He's played 25, 24, 23 minutes. But then I was thinking initially, they could move Nance to the 5 because the Kings play relative. They don't play small, but they play super fast. Nance seems like he could play the 5 in this game. And then you throw into the mix Hartenstein, and it's not entirely clear to me, JSU, where the minutes are going to go at the 5 for Cleveland tonight.
Yeah, well, I think Mangone might have Mangone. You got some coach quotes on what they could do at the 5.
Let's hear the coach quotes.
I know for a fact Mangone has coach quotes about what they're going to do at the 5 I already know, but Mangone,
I wish.
Go for it.
No, I don't have them yet. So
okay, all right. Wow, Mangone, you're slacking right now,
dude. I've been dying.
Put on the spot and can't deliver. That's tough.
Wow,
I have been dying.
Mangone's busy sweating that golf.
JSU knew Mangone didn't have them. That was a revenge.
You just came over the top on me with my own medicine, man. The stuff I love. You got me there.
I don't even know how this is possible, but if you go into our Discord chat, which if you're not a member at Run Pure Sports and you sign up, make sure you get in the Discord, because in the Discord, the members even are dropping really good stuff in there, little nuggets for you. And our guy Gary, we all know Gary in the Discord chat, he dropped a little piece that was written up about the acquisition of Isaiah Hartenstein and the coach talking about him. how he thinks he's going to be able to go. This was written maybe a day or two ago, how he think he's going to be able to go very soon, assuming he's going to play tonight. But Dean Wade and Larry Nance would have to back up the 5 position. So pretty much they'd have a 3 bigs rotation with those 3, and Dean Wade and Larry Nance would be like the backup 5. So
Hartenstein starting tonight, you think?
I don't know if Hartenstein starts. That was just coach quotes. That was just him talking, pretty much saying that Dean Wade and Larry Nance would have to back up at the center position. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll kind of see, because I think he said that, though, not knowing Jared Allen was going to be out for this game with a concussion. I think anyways. Maybe he did, but that's just my thing. With Jared Allen out, now they literally have 3 guys. I think they're going to rotate at the 4 and 5 position pretty much if the game stays close, and I think it's them 3. Now, who knows if they give Hartenstein big minutes first game back, but they traded for him, so they definitely like some of his game. Yeah. I will say, though, defensively, he could get he struggles. He could get eaten alive by Rashawn Holmes if he does start. So Holmes, for me, is a really good play with no Jared Allen.
I like it. Travis, no coach quotes from you, but do you have any takes on this game?
Yeah, no. So this is a game that, you see the Kings, right? And you're like, this is something I probably want to attack, right? It's the Kings are on the slate. You definitely want to be getting exposure, but I don't know how much exposure I'm able to get, because do I want to plan for it? Do I want to deal with the roulette wheel of what could happen with this team? I don't know if I want to mess with that too much. I think the Milwaukee one just might be so clear. I might do that, which you can make a case in tournaments that could make sense. And I did just try to look for something real quick for you. So Dean Wade was the first sub off the bench to replace Jared Allen the other day, right? So that's obviously encouraging for Dean Wade, who has been K-Falix guy and has struggled, but he's been a lot better lately, rookie. Maybe we'll give him a chance, right? I think he's been improving. So definitely seems like a good spot for him that you could consider. There is a possibility. Let's say they do decide to go a little bit smaller and go to Larry Nance to the 5. You could play Dean Wade, but you could see more Larry Nance the 5, and then go smaller with Jedi at the 4, Okoro at the 3, and then you just kind of close the game out with a lineup that isn't as ideal for those cheap guys that you're looking at. So I think there's more uncertainty there for some of these Cavs, but there is an immense amount of upside with these Cavs because they are playing the matchup against the Kings. If you fall into the right minutes, it's just Yahtzee, and then you just feel like you ship everything. Yeah,
it's tricky. I don't think it's perfectly clear where the minutes are going to go. I think AP, Larry Nance is expensive, right? $6,800 feels like a lot to pay for Larry Nance. You look at the last 2 games, though, he's been really good. If he gets minutes at the 5 here, which I think he certainly could, and he's not a safe play. He could bust, but I wouldn't be shocked if Larry Nance came up with a huge game tonight. I'm a little bit interested in him as a tournament play. I don't think he'll be very popular just because he's not an obvious play, right? You kind of got to piece things together a little bit. So your thoughts on Larry Nance and this Cleveland situation in general?
Yeah, no, I like him. I think he's going to be a good play. I love attacking this Kings team. They just they elevate the pace of the game because they're always pushing it. And so it's going to make the Cavaliers side that much better. Sexton's back in. He's probable tonight, so I think he's another very good play. Fox has been playing very well. It's going to come down to roster construction. I love the Holmes call as well. But no, I have interest in some of these Cav bigs. But, I'm going to weigh it because I agree with Mangone. It's like, do you want to take the risk of trying to figure that situation out? So decent multi-entry night. I might take half my entries and front load, might take a couple of them, maybe 1 or 2, and back load. It just depends.
Yeah, this will be one where I could see myself making a bunch of lineups that are kind of, 2v2s on some of that Bucks value and then just kind of switching things around with some of the studs as well. That's all 9 games. Obviously, the Bucks news kind of threw a wrench into things, so we went a little bit long here. We'll be in the Discord and updating cores throughout the night. Final question. We'll go around the horn here. JSU, we'll start with you. How many bucks are in the winning DraftKings lineup in the the big $20 tournament tonight?
I can't believe you didn't ask how many bucks is too many bucks, because that's the question that everybody asks. So I'm actually glad you didn't. I'm going to say there will be, I'm going to say there's going to be $3 in the winning lineup.
AP, how many bucks?
I'm gonna say 2, just because I think there's gonna be some mid-tier plays that pop that were unexpected.
That's contrarian, AP.
Yeah,
that's contrarian. I like it.
What if Thomas what if he like just takes over and goes for like 40 or 50 and just tells everyone else, tries to do what his brother does?
There might be a couple that go for 40 to 50, to be honest. Travis, your thoughts? How many bucks in the optimal lineup on DraftKings?
Yeah, so the reason why this is like an even better question is because we just don't have stars to really maybe spend on possibly, right? Like, so like those like 8K guys, like the Foxes, right, who can get a 60, right? Like you could see more of those guys land in the lineup, and I think that could hurt some of those 3K guys along the way. Obviously, it depends on how that puzzle gets put together. My guess is I'm trying to debate between 2 and 3 right now. My lean is to say 2. And I want to say 3, right? And I think my lineups will have 3, but I do think 2 might be it, right? And it's the more uncomfortable way to go, possibly. Again, it depends on how you're building, right? Are you building for cash games? Are you building for tournaments? Tournaments, obviously, I think I'd go 2. Cash games, I think I'd probably go 3 because if you want to create that same.
Oh, hold on.
Time out.
No. Real quick, we got a guy in chat. We've talked about all this value that's coming up, and then we got Steve Anthony in chat asking about Taj Gibson. Taj Gibson on this slate? Oh man, no. Don't play Taj
Steve.
Gibson.
Come on, Steve.
Come on, Steve Anthony. We're not playing Taj Gibson on this slate.
Hey, we love Steve Anthony on this show, but no Taj Gibson. And I got to go back to Mangone, because this is where I was going for a second. Mangone literally hedges every question. It's like hedge life, like it's hedge life. But you just literally hold on, time out. You told the people you think the answer's 2, but you're gonna play 3, and then you think in cash it's 3, but you're gonna play 2 in tournament.
Yes, because you're creating a higher floor. You're creating a higher floor, JSU, because that's
you're hedging your answer.
It was a pretty simple question, Travis.
I'm explaining what I'm doing. Like I'm just giving the people the breakdown. They come here for the cash takes too, JSU. They want to know what's going on in the cash chart. They want to know.
Just like betting, Mangone's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take this team. You're gonna take the other team. But hey, listen, one of us is right either way, so it doesn't matter. Well, if you're right, then I'm gonna be okay with it.
JC, this all started with you screwing up Spread's segment because he wanted to make sure that he had 3 best bets for the people, not 2, and we were on opposite sides. So I told you to go first. You wouldn't go first. You made me pick one. You went the other way, and now all you think I do is hedge. But it's hard to hedge when you play one lineup every night, JSU. I mean, I literally play one lineup, so it's hard to hedge.
All right, well, you got to play 2.
I'm gonna pull a Mangone myself and say there'll be between 1 and 4 bucks in the optimal lineup today.
Nice.
Gosh, that's a great top move, DC. Getting just rounding into form for baseball season.
Exactly. No, I'm joining JSU on the $3 in the optimal lineup train. All right, we'll get out of here. We got to get our core plays up, obviously on the site, get in Discord, do all that good stuff. Thanks for joining in. As always, please hit the like, hit the subscribe. Helps us bring you these free shows each and every day. For AP, for Travis, for special guest JSU, I'm DC. We'll check you next time.